Hello and welcome to the Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson, the host and the producer of the show. He is the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Monday, October 21st. The New York Yankees are going back to the World Series. The chase for 28 is officially on. Joel, we have Yankees Dodgers. We're here to break down the Yankees Guardians series. The Yankees winning in 5. We're gonna talk about that. We'll talk about Soto's home run. We'll talk about Giancarlo Stanton, what this bullpen was able to do, and how we got here. And we'll reflect on it all if you stick around and watch the Pinstripe Post. But before I get to anything else, Joel, how you doing, man?
Good. It's good to be home for a few days before flying back out to the coast. There was a moment there where it looked like we'd sell even more newspapers, where maybe it'd be Yankees Mets, and I'd sleep in my bed for the entire series, which I remember well from 2020, how the city was lit for that and how great that was. The Mets made a great run. They were very different from the Yankees. The Yankees' expectation was minimum to get to this point, really to win now 4 more games. Everything was gravy for the Mets once they won in Atlanta and got in, and they got a lot of gravy to win 2 more rounds, to kind of slay some beast they had in Milwaukee, to slay some beast they had with Philadelphia. The reality is, and the Yankees will have to deal with this, is the Dodgers were better than them. Significantly, and at some point they just ran out of players, especially pitchers that could handle the length and the patience of the Dodger lineup, 2 things the Yankees are going to have to deal with for anywhere from 4 to 7 games. But it was a hell of a run by the Mets.
Absolutely was. It was looking and shaping up to be that way. I was going to give you a radio rational today, but I don't think it's worth it. But maybe in the future episode where I'd rather play the Dodgers, believe it or not, than the Mets. I was more scared of the Mets than I was the Dodgers because
you're a fan, right? And you
right.
probably have people in your life who are Met fans, and you don't want to have to see them, right?
Yes.
If that's the implication. I remember it from 2020. So, half my friends are Met fans, half my friends are Yankee fans. Been playing in a poker game for over 40 years with my oldest friends, and it's 7 of us, and those 6 guys are split 3-3. And so I know, going back to 2020, what that game felt like, where I'm the referee. I don't give a crap who wins the series. I'm looking for great stories and great games. But it was a nightmare for especially the team that lost. And I always think it's going to be a worse nightmare for the Yankees because in the way that when they couldn't beat the Red Sox anymore, they held something over a fan base, right? The Yankees held something over the Red Sox fan base. The Yankees hold something over the Met fan base. It's 27 championships. It's 2. You haven't won since 1986. 27-2 wasn't going to matter if the Mets got in and beat them, right? That's how Yankee fans were going to feel, and that's how Met fans were going to feel. So I know what you're feeling because I just am friends with all New Yorkers, and I know how they feel. So.
Yeah, and now we ultimately end up with best on best in the American League, best in the National League record-wise. I mean, we got here to this point, but we got to talk about this Yankees Guardians series, Joel. And it was shaping up to be, it looked like it was going to be Yankees are just going to absolutely dominate the Guardians in this series. But when they went to Cleveland up 2-0, it was anything but that, because that was a beast of a 3 games right there in Cleveland. And credit to the Yankees, they were able to prevail. And the star power came out in that series. I can truly say, for you, Joel, overlooking this 5-game series with the Yankees Guardians in the ALCS, what are you taking away from what the Yankees were able to do and win in 5?
Yeah, the Yankees. I keep coming back to this thought. The Yankees are like the great 3-point shooting team. Home runs cover a lot of sins. Right? If you're able to make your 3-pointers, that 12-point deficit goes away very quickly. And even the game they lost, right? It's Judge homer, Stanton homer. And you're thinking, because that game to me turned around when Jose Trevino was picked off. It allowed Matt Boyd to stick around for a long, long time in that game where he wouldn't have. It kept Soto from batting in that inning. And it's just who the Yankees are, right? That last game, Torres thrown out at the plate, felt like Boyd, where it kept Tanner Beebe around for a long time and didn't get into the Guardians bullpen. So the deodorant of the Yankees is the long ball. And look, they have 3 monsters, 2 of them who are particularly going now in Soto and Stanton. But you got to get through that gauntlet of those two plus Judge. Any place from 12 to 15 times a game, and it just covers up a lot of the stuff they don't do well. I wrote a column in, as we're talking in today's paper, in Monday's paper. I wrote it yesterday about so many Yankees talked about the pain of 82 and 80. And not making the playoffs. The Yankees treated 82 and 80 like worse than the White Sox just treated losing 121 games. And good for them. They had a standard. They went out and did something about it, right? Soto, they bid on Yamamoto, but also just they talked about the focus. How many people were in Tampa like weeks before spring training? How much better shape mentally and physically everybody was in to focus on all of this? And does that really matter? The point I was going to make was it reminded me when the Yankees lost in '97, because I'm old enough. I was in that ballpark in Cleveland, same ballpark, different name back then, that I was in over the weekend. And I know after that, they were like, we were the best team in the sport again, and we let this get away. And what they came back to the next year was the 125 win Yankees. Like that team was laser focused, but that team was good at everything. There was nothing that team wasn't good at. Starting pitching, relief pitching, hit for average, running the bases, fielding, homers. It's in the record, right? They might be the greatest team ever. This team was that team in the we have to do something about last year, but they just have a lot of defects. And the run prevention abilities of the team and the homers cover a lot of things they don't do.
Totally.
I wonder, is that AL Central teams, or will this also hold against the Dodgers? I am curious. I know we don't want to spin ahead yet, but that's the thought I had coming out of this, Ryan, is like they were, on one hand, this was a dominant two weeks. They went 7-2. On the other hand, if you watch the 9 games, it was not a dominant 2 weeks.
Right. I think that's an interesting takeaway from you is that you highlight, and it's been a theme for you, I feel like, most of the year. And it's been a real theme. There's been validity to it all year long with the Yankees and run prevention, giving up 90 feet, and also at the time, not running the bases well and not taking care of their own 90 feet when they have the opportunities too. I mean, how many times do we see guys get picked off in this series and you're going, John Sterling's going, they're running the bases drunk right now. I don't understand what is going on.
We're just feeling it's. I guess on one hand you could say it's an opinion. There is no metric that shows the Yankees as anything but the worst base running team in the sport. And if you have two eyes, you know that they're so whatever you want to do. This doesn't feel like a Joel thing.
No,
they are just the worst base running team in the sport. It costs them 90 feet all the time. They sometimes lack attention to detail on defense. They cover up for it because they're game planning on defense. They're positioning the ball. I always tell people is watch a Yankee game where the ball gets hit, a Yankee is standing. So their preparation in that way is outstanding. And they cobble together another strong bullpen, which is something their front office does very well. Most teams are not the 1998 Yankees. They have stuff they don't do well. The problem for the Yankees, to me, all year is it's one thing to say we're less than elite at something. Mm-hmm. It's another to say we're horrible at something. And the Yankees are horrible at base running, and they're not very good at attention to detail on defense. And so those two things are a lot to overcome. And the question, again, I have is you overcome them by skin of their teeth having 7-2 dominance against the AL Central. But if you watch the games, they weren't 7-2 dominance. None of these games were separated by more than 3 runs. They played 9 games within 3 runs. And the Guardians and the Royals didn't have the firepower to do anything about it. The Dodgers are certainly going to have the firepower if the games stay close to do something about it.
Right. And I think that's definitely something we'll look forward to, and we'll see how that plays out in the World Series ultimately. I think for me, takeaway, the biggest one is, I know it's crazy to say, but I think we should talk about it now. Giancarlo Stanton. I don't know, Joel. Like, I've never been so wrong about a player when he came to New York and he struggled, in stretches. Like he had a good first season, statistically had a good first season, but there were times, again, you watch him as a player and you're like, how is this guy a major league player? He's swinging and whiffing at sliders and curveballs and off-speed pitches outside the box, like in the opposite, batter's box, and you're like, dude, where's your approach? Where are you mentally? But he turns it on. I don't know what it is. He flips the switch in the postseason, and that's been the most impressive takeaway for me is that dude is automatic. And I don't know what Stephen Vogt was thinking in games 4 and 5, pitching to him with a first base open both times, but it bit him in the ass both times ultimately. And Giancarlo Stanton made him pay for it. And that was, for me, you have a lethal hitter behind Judge and Soto, and that's Giancarlo Stanton. And good on Boone elevating him up in the lineup, because you saw it. Austin Wells was just not hitting in the cleanup spot, and Boone was able to adjust and say, you know what, G, go there, man. I know we're stacking our righties here, but let's go after it. And it's worked out.
Of course, what you just said is true. We get caught up with big games and recency bias. I think, and by the way, I think the Stanton story is great. I think few people have handled themselves with failure in New York better than him. His stand-up nature and intellect on handling it are incredibly high. And I'd like to come back to it because I want to say something about how I think it influenced Boone. Ryan, the reality is that roster spot and those finances would probably have been spent better over the last 6-7 years than Stanton. And I'm not sure they wouldn't be in the same position each year. And even moving forward with everything we know, if you're going to keep Soto, Judge, just how you shape the roster. But for, again, the flaws of the player, at least there's these moments in October. He has turned into a great postseason player. The column I wrote the other day was he's kind of the El Duque of hitters, which is, it's good during the regular season, but always leaves you wanting, where you're like, shouldn't there be more here? And then the postseason comes and you go, oh, you're the Yankees. And I guess the more important thing is you probably are going to get there. Once you get there, you need players who can handle this. Orlando Hernandez could certainly handle it. He was the best big game pitcher of that dynastic era for the Yankees. And Stanton can handle this. And therefore, I'll go back to Boone said something I thought was really good, and I think has helped this Yankee team. I think they've taken on a little bit of the Stanton personality, which was, a lot of people say they don't give a crap what people think about them. The reality is most of us really care what people think about them. And it's very hard. I do a podcast with John Heyman, and I tell John all the time, you got to shut off the mentions on Twitter, because nobody would walk through a door if they were told you're going to walk through the door and be punched in the face. You'd be like, well, I'm not going to walk through that door, right? And yet we look at mentions on Twitter where 9 out of 10 of them are going to be, I'm going to punch you in the face. And for the nice thing, the 1 out of 10, it's not worth the 9 out of 10. And so I don't do it. I don't listen to all sports radio for more than a decade now, because I just feel like certain things are going to get into my spirit that I don't want in my spirit. Like, I'm glad people have jobs, do whatever you're doing. Good that people are listening. I won't do it. I think that Stanton actually doesn't give a crap. And I think he either doesn't look or doesn't care. And Boone said something that felt like he had heard from Stanton, which was, if you want, you could go find all the good and all the bad that is said about you. And in the end, neither helps you. Ultimately is, can you play or not? Can you play at this time of year? And I think the Yankees have done a better job of walling themselves off from noise this year, because there certainly was, especially in those bad couple of months in the July, August period, lots of noise. And they were better at it. And there is simply no one close. There is no number two for walling off noise on the Yankees better than Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, I mean, he blocked out the noise and he just stepped up to another level that I think, call me crazy, Joel, like it just, for me, I watch him and I'm like, this dude is so locked in. Even if he's down in the count, like he was down 0-2, he still worked it to a full count and he was able to get the pitch that he wanted. And baby, like I don't know why you thought you could hang that ball right there in the zone and try and catch him off guard. The dude's just so locked in, and you should have saw it the night before. He was locked in that moment too in the 6th inning. It's just, it continuously impresses me that this guy's approach and the way he's handling the postseason and the way he's handled like the mentality of, yeah, we belong here. We we should win. And the comments he makes after the game, I'm just like, this dude is a Yankee, man. Like he gets it. This guy gets it more than any. Like he doesn't have like those empty veiled comments that Aaron Judge has.
No.
You know what I mean?
He opens his mouth, good stuff comes out. He is a reporter's dream, and he's non-cliched, and you actually think you're getting what he's thinking. And he's a reminder you could do that without hurting other people's feelings. I wish that was the media training instead of the bullshit media training. Give them one flavor of vanilla for the rest of your life, because that is not what Stanton does. You know, I was going through the litany, and I came up that night when I was writing about it. I came up with El Duque, but I was thinking like Jimmy Butler, right? Is the kind of he's injured a lot during the regular season. During the regular season, he's a good player. Then in the playoffs, you're like, holy shit, Jimmy Butler, Robert Horry, Big Shot Bob, all that stuff. I was just trying to come up. Eventually, I came to Orlando Hernandez to write the comp because I thought it was just a better comp since it's another Yankee. But I think that one of the reasons he succeeds at this time of year, Ryan, is he knows who he is. And like, I know this sounds crazy, but like he might be the smartest Yankee also. And so it isn't like he doesn't know that when he runs the way he runs, that the fans are nuts about it, that reporters are like, how can you do this? And he has made a decision and has the fortitude to say, the most important thing I could do is take 4 swings a day, especially in October. And so I'm not going to do the thing that we all agree. I'm going to get hurt if I do it this way. And it looks terrible. You think he doesn't know it looks terrible? Of course he does. He hears it. He hears the groan of it. It takes some fortitude, some steel to say, yeah, I'm not going to just turn it on now and blow out, and then everybody will be happy, but I won't be playing. And I think he knows who he is as a hitter. I'm going to take some swings where I miss by 2 feet. But you might make a mistake before I swing through something 3 times. And beyond that, his 2-strike hitting in the postseason, where he was fouling off 96, 97, and getting to the mistakes against Class A, against Bibby, those were not just, hey, I'm taking 3 ace swings and I hope the ball hits the bat at some point, because if it does, I'm the strongest guy in the world and it will probably go 450. Those were great at bats. Does it hold against the Dodgers? We'll see, but they're not against the Dodgers without.
Right, they're not. And for you, and I just want to hit on this last point with Stan. What was your mindset when Voth decided to pitch to him in both of those games in games 4 and 5?
Especially the second one, I was just like, at some point, because the guys behind him. Now, I believe the second time, at least, Rizzo was behind him, and Rizzo has done a good.
No. It was still Jazz. It was still Jazz behind him.
Okay, so that was like Jazz and Wells have had the emptiest at bats. Those 2 guys, and really to a large extent, to some degree, Judge. Even though he popped a couple of homers. But, I mean, if you could get a fastball up in the zone right now, Austin Wells can't hurt you, because his bat, maybe he's just played too much. His bat is slow, but he can't get there. And I think Jazz, like we kept doing the who's the X factor. Mm-hmm. And my line was, right, Jazz could be the X factor either way. He's talented enough to win you a series, and he has certain elements about him that would keep him from helping you to the large degree. And I think we're seeing some of it. He so badly wants to play hero ball. He wants to be the guy. And the best thing he did in the whole series was put down a sacrifice bunt. Like, if there were a way to get to him and say smaller is better,
Mm.
The couple of singles you had and the sacrifice bunt really helped the team.
Yeah.
And when you're like, if you go for the, it's the Mike Vaccaro wrote this line in his column. It was a memory. He was talking about when Boone went to the plate against Wakefield in 2003 and hits a homer. Torrey said to him, he had to bench Boone. Boone had been terrible late in the year and in the postseason, so he benches him. But now he had double switched him into the game. I think he ran him or defended with him, and he's in the game, and he's coming up for his first at bat. And he said, go for the single, because sometimes when you go for the single, you get the homer. And I think Jazz could use to hear the same thing, which is your value on the bases with the single and the smaller game is great, and you have life in your bat. And if you get your bat head out and ahead of it, it will go, especially at Yankee Stadium. So I just feel like smaller would be better for Jazz. But I kind of skip your point, which was whoever was hitting behind him at that point, Jazz, Rizzo, Volpe, whoever, it's like, Stanton is a game changer right now. I'm not going to let Stanton change the game. If I got to pick poisons, that's not the one I'm going to pick. And especially the second time, I was like, you can't. You can't. And I know what the influence is, which is Stanton is the kind of hitter who traditionally in the postseason, if you make your pitches, you get him out.
Right.
Because the swing is big and the intention is large. And that kind of hitter who is more a power guy than a hitter. But the thing in this series was Stanton was a hitter. The at-bats were so good. Now, the result for him is when he has a good at-bat, he hits a homer. He had 4 hits in the series. They were all homers.
Yeah.
He has 8 hits against the Guardians in 3 series. They're all homers. I mean, wow. But the result of these homers was not just pure power. He had terrific at-bats to lead to the power.
Right. That's where I took away is like, even if he went down in the count, he could still work you and get the pitches that he wants to see and do some real damage with it. I mean, I know it, and you make a great point about the Guardian series and that the fact that all of his hits are homers. When you look at that Royals series, I mean, I remember the double down the right field line. I mean, he took that pitch. He can make that happen. He has the adjustments now where I can go the opposite way. I have enough power to go the opposite way, but if I see a pitch that I like and I have to go opposite way because of the way this guy's stuff is coming out of his hand, he'll do it. And that's what's so impressive about Giancarlo Stanton. And that's why he's the ALCS MVP. And I'm glad we talked about it and discussed it. I'm looking forward to seeing how he carries us over in LA, because that's a place he likes to hit. And I'm just looking forward to that matchup and how they try and pitch with Stanton. I just thought Vogt, though, like the moment was way too big for him as a manager, and he made a huge, monstrous mistake, clearly, in pitching to Stanton in Game 5 after he got burned in Game 4. The flip side of this, Joel, and the other thing that we have to talk about off the top here is Juan Soto. That Game 5 homer in the extra innings against Hunter Gaddis. I mean, that at bat, the entire start to finish, everyone keeps tweeting about it. Everyone keeps posting the entire at bat. Soto's comments, I was all over him. I knew everything that was coming. The fact that he was able to foul off so many off-speed pitches, and then he got his high fastball and did the damage there. What more can you say, Joel, about Juan Soto and the legend that he keeps building on his young career, only 25 years old?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could have the right analogy here for like who's ever the best like guitarist in the world now, or the best piano player in the world, or something like that. When that person sits down at a key, the keys,
the
or
instrument.
begins to play the guitar, they must have such incredible confidence that they know exactly what it's going to be. Like nothing that could happen in a concert, while recording something, could throw them off. That's Juan Soto taking it at bat. He just, no matter, and again, there's some Stanton in this, which is like a lot of people, like where I say they're not bothered by things, but are. Like there's a lot of people who come strolling to the plate in the big spot, and they're trying to give off the, hey, I'm in control, and that they're not. There is no situation, like Juan Soto is dying for that situation. He's not hoping to avoid the Mets like you and your friends, right? Like he's hoping it's 9th inning, couple of guys on, you're one of your monster relievers out there. I'm better. that must be an incredible feeling to feel in the most pressurized moment that no matter what else is going on, I'm walling it out. It's me versus you, and I'm better. And literally, that at bat was an at bat pitch by pitch where each pitch he could have gone, I'm better. I'm better. I'm better. I'm best. Until he finally convinces them to throw a fastball that he's waiting for some reason. And, it was a dramatic moment that felt like months in the making. It's very few scripts are 82 and 80 weren't acceptable. The biggest thing we're going to do to change it is go and acquire Juan Soto. And then at the pennant winning moment, the at bat is going to find Soto. And I would even ask the question, should they have walked Soto?
It's a great question, Joel.
And have the Gaddis Judge right on right.
Right.
Like Judge, there are lots of ways to get Aaron Judge out right now. There are very few ways where Juan Soto's not having a great at bat, regardless of what the outcome is. Juan Soto, when he strikes out, has a great at bat. Sometimes when Aaron Judge strikes out, it's not a good at bat. But Juan Soto has a great at bat striking out. And so moment's not bigger than the man. And whatever his number is, it probably went up in the offseason. Because part of this, he combines the three things you are going to die for in free agency. He's young, he's great, and there's no place you could put him that is going to be bigger than him. So it isn't like, oh, I'm the Mets. I wonder if he could play in New York. Well, you already know that. I'm any place. I wonder if he could play in October. Go check out his numbers combined now, Washington and New York, what they look like. So just cha-ching for him, easy free agency. I'm sure Scott Boras will drain even more than I think is possible out of a team. But yeah, just a great, when you do what I do, Ryan, all three games in Cleveland were great.
Yeah.
It creates all kinds of deadline issues when it's happening that late. But fine, that's the tightrope this is the life we've decided to live. This is the tightrope. Give me that, and I'll figure out how to make the best of it in 45 minutes or less. And all three games were great, and that was just such a great moment. And I think he left his team, which is a team filled with accomplished players, in awe.
Yeah. I mean, it just continues to be like, yeah, that's Juan Soto, man. Like, you should shake your head and you go,
the best at bat in the world.
Right.
I thought him and Freddie Freeman were probably the best at bats in the world. For like, somebody told you, hey, we got an at bat for all your money. Who you sending up? You got to get on base. I'd be like, all right, probably Soto and Freeman. And, Freeman's a little older now and beat up. And Soto is just like reminding you, whatever the at-bat is, lefty, righty, April, October.
Best reliever, I don't care.
Doesn't matter. He's ready for the fight. The other thing, the fourth thing to add into it is he is totally locked in, invested, and subject of a lot of stuff. And I've been on this also, is with all the stuff that was happening with the Yankees, being like, he's a good baseball player. He's not a great fielder. The Gold Glove stuff's ridiculous, but he is a willing fielder who never throws to the wrong base, who knows how to play balls off the wall to kind of hold runners or throw out runners. He's a smart baseball player with elite talent. And so he's not five-tooled up all the way because he's not the fastest, he's not the greatest fielder, but he's willing to do it all. He's a smart base runner without being an extraordinarily fast one. So pretty much all you want in a player is there. And it's going to be a cha-ching couple of months coming once the baseball season ends.
Yeah, I think I reminisced all the fans in Cleveland chanting re-signed Soto. You can hear it over the broadcast when they were celebrating. I actually saw you with Cashman. They caught you on TBS cameras. You were talking to Cashman one-on-one. But I was just fascinated.
There was some chanting of it. All the stuff the fans heard, which was re-sign Soto, came after they were off the podium. It actually started with them on the podium. It wasn't exactly re-sign Soto, like it was like keep Soto, like something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but yeah. Look, that's for 10 days from now,
Yeah.
and moving forward, because it's going to be quite a bidding war probably between the two New York teams at the minimum, and it will keep us nice and busy and warm during the hot stove. But in the moment, if nothing else, they moved a little bit of heaven and earth to make sure they got Soto, and they got Soto for this.
Right.
And he has absolutely not disappointed. He's going to finish, fourth probably for the MVP, behind, Judge Witt and Henderson, and maybe ahead of Ramirez. He's probably going to be third or fourth in there someplace, or fifth. So he had a great regular season, and he's been as great as Stanton has been. He's been their best at bat during the postseason.
I mean, Giancarlo Stanton said this about Juan Soto after the game. We need him to stay. He's going to stay. We need to bring it home, and then we'll bring him home also. So I just thought that was a cool comment from Stan. Like, he recognizes, like, this dude's different. This is like it kept continuing to be like, holy crap, like Soto did it. Like, that was the moment right there. You're like, this is what you got him for, and he just brought you into the World Series. Like, it's a culmination of everything this season, because we started this show, right, Joel, with the World Series aspirations for the Yankees. The team, everything's right in front of them. They've stacked this lineup. They stacked this team. It's a lot of talent. It's a lot of big names. It's all about how can they get there, and will they get there? And they had the road in the playoffs set. It was the AL Central, and they got through it both. And credit to Soto. In that moment, Duke came through. And now the Yankees are playing for the World Series, for World Series number 28 title. I do want to go to doo-wop. So we talked about Stan. We talked about Soto. But I want to ask you, for you, who are the three players that you were most impressed with in this ALCS, not named Stanton and Soto?
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be guys in the bullpen. I think Tim Hill has been a great story for the thing about it. Tim Hill and Jake Cousins weren't good enough for the 121 loss White Sox, and those were guys that last night. I think it was at a 5 1/3 shutout innings, or 5 2/3, five. It was a little over 5 innings of shutout relief from their bullpen, and it was, Mark Leiter Jr., who wasn't even on the roster for the first 2 rounds of the playoffs and looked like a trade deadline bust. And I think one of the things I've continued to say during this show, like I think I've probably told the Graham Lloyd story way too much about the fact that it was a failed trade until it wasn't, where they don't win a World Series in 1996 without Graham Lloyd. It was like, why are you putting him on the roster? And then he's, especially in the World Series when he's shutting down Fred McGriff and Ryan Klesko, it's like, oh. And then he actually, for the next 2 years, became a very good relief pitcher for the Yankees all the time, regular and postseason. So it's, this is what we do. Webcast, podcast, write for the New York Post. You're reviewing the movie in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And the movie in front of us on someone like Mark Leiter was terrible. And then it wasn't. And so now you're reviewing a different movie. You can only review the ones that are in front of you. But look, it's probably those guys. I thought Volpe had just great at bats for 2 rounds now. Like using the whole that was, he's the less is more. Chisholm should do what Volpe's doing, which is, there is no slug right now for Volpe. There is no slug for Anthony Rizzo. But those guys are extending innings with good at bats. And in the case of Volpe, also playing, he made a bad play early in the series, in the postseason previous, but he's played really well on defense. He had a bonehead base running play during this series that worked out for them because the ball got dropped, but it was a bad base. Again, the Yankees bad base running team. Yeah. It got dropped, but Volpe's at bats have been really good. Rizzo's at bats have been really good. The dead spots have really been Wells, Chisholm, and, aside from a couple of walks and homers, Judge. But they've gotten pesky, long at bats. I have no idea what's going on at first base where they can't catch the ball, no matter who's playing there. That, again, this will be exploited at a higher level by the Dodgers than a couple of AL Central teams. So They've got to clean up. It's a little late for fielding practice probably, but some stuff has to get cleaned up. But Volpe at bats, Rizzo at bats, all the relief pitchers pretty much from 1 to 6 or so. Tommy Kahnle,
Tommy Tight Pants.
yeah, he has been a guy who's had some. There was a guy who also I liked. He did a Zoom with reporters during the ALCS. I believe he was the one of the off day Zoom guys, and I actually thought that was as great as he came across in a couple of stints with the Yankees. He was very self-aware, where he was like, he essentially said, "I know I wear on people," and he was like, I was like, "Oh, he knows," but the deodorant for everything is always like, yeah, but I can handle this time of year. And that, he came in some big spots and got big outs, and we see it. This postseason is reminding us that you can try to bullpen everything, but that's a tough way to live life. As these pitchers get seen more and more
yes.
by hitters, right? Was it the third at bat that Soto had against Gaddis in the postseason? Is the homer? Ramirez saw Weaver a lot and took him deep at some point.
I think that became evident,
Holmes
right?
Got seen a lot, and I do think you're going to need some length still by starting pitchers. And so, but to this point, if you're asking me, under the radar, Volpe and Rizzo at bats, and just about everybody in the bullpen.
Yeah, so you highlighted Kahnle, you highlighted Hill, you highlighted Mark Leiter, who came in Game 4 when the bullpen was
Weaver had a good
out.
bounce back from his first bad
right.
out. It was possible seeing him, and then listening to him afterwards. I wondered, did we just see a guy fall at the tape of a marathon, which is, and I thought maybe he was out of it. I mean, he is not a very big guy. And the way he bounced back to give them more than 3 outs in the clincher was good.
Yeah.
And now, importantly, they finished the series in 5 instead of off day 6, where you've got to fire the cold bullet again and use some more bullpen. So potentially their bullpen, but also now the Dodgers. By the time we get to Friday, everybody will be rested. So I'm sure we'll see like 3 inning starts and a bunch of bullpen guys ruining the sport. But go ahead.
Joel falls into that category. I think it's been a theme all postseason with the bullpen thing. And everyone, listen, it's a great point by you. It's a great point by, I think I heard from the broadcasting, it was Ron Darling or some other guys were saying too. It's like, every time you see this relief pitcher, you're seeing his stuff and you get used to it. So the second time,
remember,
the third
he's
time,
a
the
relief
fourth
pitcher
time,
because he only has 2 pitches.
Right. Or
Right?
Tommy Kahnle only has 1 changeup.
One pitch. So like the parlor trick that you see, oh my God, I've like faced the righty, I faced the lefty, now I'm facing this, and you see it on June 17th, and then you never see it again. That's very hard to hit. And analytically, you're sitting with those numbers. Oh, that's very hard to hit. But like, it's not the same thing. First of all, the guy's a lot more exhausted in October. And also, I'm getting to see him. I saw him on Tuesday, saw him on Wednesday. We had an off day. Then I saw him on Friday. At some point, their mystery goes out, and they're just a guy with a singular weapon. And now sometimes the weapon's big, but Emmanuel Clase, you can't have a better regular season than Emmanuel Clase had. And both the Tigers and ultimately the Yankees got to Clase. And he has among the best weapons you could have. Cade Smith has among the best weapons you could have. Gaddis has among the best weapons you could have. See it enough, and it just becomes something a major league hitter could hit. I mean, I'll give you maybe they talked about it on the broadcast. Remember, I'm not watching the broadcast, and I know a few of us wrote it during the thing. Stanton started this early in the playoffs against Kansas City, and for the last 3 games in Cleveland, Judge joined them. They go on the field. A lot of players don't hit on the field anymore. They hit underneath. But both guys went on the field, and the Yankees put the high-speed pitching machine on the field. And those guys from about 50 feet were hitting the high-speed pitching machine, thinking, we're just about to face Smith, Gaddis, and especially Clase. Let's do it on the field where we get a feel for this. And there are ways now between that and actually seeing the human a lot that you could begin to close the gap on what is a great era for pitch velocity and shapes.
No, I totally agree, Joel, and that is an interesting note about, because you saw it every before the game, every time Stanton and Judge were on the field taking BP, the Class A stuff. So that was interesting. I didn't want to bring it up, but now I do because you brought it up. Austin Hedges. Don't know why you're making that comment that he's a better closer than Mariano Rivera. Mariano's the greatest ever. He had the greatest weapon ever in the cutter, right? The man the man could do it against anyone. He's like, I know what I'm going to throw. I'm going to throw my cutter. I'm going to saw off your hands, and you're not going to be able to hit it. So I'm sorry, Emmanuel Clase, you're not Mariano Rivera, and I don't know why your teammate decided to defend you and make even that comment. There was no reason to make that kind of comment. And the Yankees made him pay multiple times. They didn't look overmatched. Maybe once or twice. I think Wells was overmatched. A couple other guys were overmatched, but the Judge, Giancarlo, the game 3 where they ultimately lost, you're like, holy crap, this is the Aaron Judge moment, right? You're like, he just tied the game in the ninth. And then you had Stanton, you hit the go ahead, and you're like, oh my God, we're going to win this game. We're going to sweep the Guardians. And then obviously no big Christmas comes in. But I just thought that was an interesting moment for the Class A. He just could not live up to the moment in the postseason here against the Yanks.
Yeah, early in the playoffs, I wrote a thing, and I the first 200 words where I was like, I want to be very careful here. I'm talking about 1 month. 1 month. I said it over again. But that Weaver, who also is the exact same size and weight as Rivera, was having a Rivera-like run for a month. He was imperturbable. He had a pitch that was completely fooling people. He was a failed starter who had done this, the whole thing. It is a reminder. And it's, again, I think if you just looked at a spreadsheet analytically, it wouldn't. Can I tell a quick story?
Yeah.
So 1996 is my first year as the columnist. I'd been the beat writer from 89 to 95. And late in the year, I want to say we're in Detroit, no internet. I just begin to call people I think have MVP and Cy Young Award votes. It's 2 guys in each American League city. And I began to ask them, I said, are you thinking about putting Rivera on your ballot? And guys thought I was saying, can I inject some Ebola virus into your body? Because remember, back then, it wasn't very frequently a pitcher would get a vote. I'm not even talking about the closer. I was talking about the setup guy in 1996. Right? I was talking about the setup guy. But I was watching the Yankees every day, and I'm like, this is the most important player on the team. He's the best player on the team, and he's the most important player on the team because that it's lost the time because they became a dynasty. But the 96 team was not a great team. The 98 to 2000 team was kind of 98, 99 in particular were great. 96 team, I actually thought the Orioles were more talented than them. And the difference was every time they had a chance to win, Joe Torre got 6 outs from Rivera, and it was or 9 outs or whatever was needed. And he just changed the game. But even then, that's pre-analytics in our life. It's well, where's the saves? Where's the whatever? Then over the years, it became, where's the WAR? And I was like, well, if you watch the fucking games, he's the most important player in the game because the other team is reacting to the fact that he's out in the bullpen. We're looking at pinch hitters in the 5th and 6th inning who would never be used because the other team is conceding that they cannot win the game if the Yankees are leading after 7 innings, especially the big games where Rivera's going to pitch 3 to 6 outs. And he was the difference. He was the greatest difference maker for them. As great as Jeter was, and he's a Hall of Famer, as great as Bernie Williams was, and he was a borderline Hall of Famer, the difference maker to championships was the guy who went 23 straight. Look at guys who can't get 2 straight saves. He had 23 straight postseason saves. Now, did he get got a few times? Yeah, he got a few times. The Judge homer went to the same exact spot that the Roberto Alomar Jr. homer went to in 97 during this series. He got in 97, and then he got in 2001. You know what happened between those 2 things? He saved 23 straight games. And he kept doing it through the 2009 World Series where the Phillies knew, and that's what made him different. Might somebody have a Mariano Rivera year? They might. Might somebody have a Mariano Rivera postseason? They might. You know what I'm pretty certain is never going to happen again? Somebody's going to have 20 years that looks like that. So I might say, hey, this month looks like Mariano Rivera, or this year looks like Mariano Rivera. But out of this mouth and out of these fingers, I doubt I'm ever going to say that guy is Mariano Rivera
or better. Yeah, that's the key.
So I would be very, very careful of that because I feel he was the greatest difference maker for a dynasty.
100%, Joel. Well said. That's all it needs to be said. I just couldn't agree more.
I don't even have to do Joel's story time today.
No, you don't. You got me covered there. That was great.
I covered it with making cold phone calls on a landline in 1996.
That's perfect.
Like, by the way, that's what happens now when I use a cell phone. They all still think I'm crazy. So.
That's great. All right. It's time to go to Hoganalytics for our guy, Tommy Hogan. He's going to give us some stats to react to. Tommy, how you feeling, brother?
Excited. Those last 3 games, absolute bangers. They were great games. I got a couple nuggets on Juan Soto's home run for Hoganalytics. First one, the pitch that goes out, the highest pitch he hit for a home run all season. 3.14 feet above the middle of the strike zone. He was able to take it out. He was just looking fastball. He wasn't looking location, just looking fastball, and he got one just barely in the zone. And the other one, Joel, Juan Soto's home run is the second highest Yankees hit by win probability added in a series-clinching win all time. What's the first?
I would assume Boone's homer off of Wakefield.
It's not. That one's 6th.
So, is it Soho's ball against Leiter?
That one's 3rd.
So it literally could be like a walk-off hit to decide a series would therefore be the biggest hit. But I'm trying to think, have the Yankees ever clinched a series with a walk-off hit? If they have, it isn't coming to mind.
This one's actually not a walk-off.
I
believe it's at the start of, and I might be throwing you off here, it's early. It's at the start of maybe when you're covering the team.
Is it Leyritz's homer against Seattle?
It's not. It's Bob Musel's 2-run single.
Bernie Williams taking Beck deep to win a game?
Bob Musel's 2-run single in the 8th inning of Game 6 of the 1923 World Series.
You know.
Can you just say when Joel was starting to cover the game?
It had been close, right, Joel?
He's doing a little stand-up.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. By the way, back then, our internet was carrier pigeons, so just so you know.
So was mine.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, we had the freeze here. Can I give you a good a stat?
Please.
That I thought was a joke? I put it in my column today. The Yankees had the go-ahead hit in this postseason, 1 in the 7th inning, 1 in the 8th inning, 1 in the 9th inning, and 1 in the 10th inning. They broke a tie to win games 1. It was in this the division series was after the 6th. There was one after the 7th in that. I'm sorry, it was the 7th, the 8th against the Royals, and in Game 4 was the 9th, and Game 5 was the 10th. So they have a 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th inning tie-breaking hit of their 7 wins so far. So again, it shows they've been dominant record-wise. 7-2 over 162 games is 126 wins. But if you watched it, it hasn't been 7. It hasn't looked 7-2. It's looked nail biter, which will ultimately spin us to the World Series. Because I wonder, do nail biters against AL Central teams become something else in the World Series?
What are you hinting at here, Joel? What are you hinting at?
I actually think probably man for man, the Dodgers, the Yankees talent base is better than the Mets. So ultimately, the Mets ran out of, especially pitching. The Yankees will stand up talent-wise better, but I think the Dodgers are more 1-26 talented. I think they're a little more buttoned up. The Yankees can hit 3-pointers. And can they hit enough of them 4 times to win their first World Series since 2009? It was enough to get them to their first World Series since 2009. But it will be interesting to me. And look, let's be fair. We talked about a lot the Yankees did wrong. Ultimately, the Guardians made more tactical and physical mistakes, especially Brian Rocchio in the field, than the Yankees. Andres Gimenez has also made one of the greatest defensive plays I've ever seen.
Yes.
Against Jazz Chisholm, who wasn't running hard out of the box. But anyway.
Joel, I did want to ask you, though, because one of the big storylines going into the postseason for you that you talked about a lot was Aaron Boone. You thought he was going to have to manage this team a lot. Have you thought that? And if so, like if you thought that has still been the case, and if so, how have you thought that he's done?
Yeah, everything is in the result, Tommy, because the relievers have performed well. So it's like, well, he found the right lanes for them. But we're a results-oriented world, so he found the right lanes for them. The game 4, where it really devolved pretty quickly. I mean, Luis Gil gave him 4 innings. Again, this is a bizarre world for me. We're now talking about, like, he gave 4, Walker Buehler pitched 4 against the Mets, Matt Boyd pitched 5, and these are treated like they're Kurt Schilling with a bloody freaking sock at this point. Like, wow, I can't believe he gave us 12 outs. And I was like, well, I can, because there's 15 freaking outs to go. So I guess he wins the Cy Young Award. But that night, with a lot of guys not available to him, getting through that game was a real jigsaw. The word Brad Osmus used when I asked him was, it was a total jigsaw puzzle. And both him, Osmus, and Boone admitted there were moments where they're like, I'm not exactly sure how we get to 27 outs. They did. I think he's had a real puzzle at first base that is not easily solvable. The answer, see, part of the problem when you're the manager is all the answers might be wrong, and you still have to do something. Like right now, when the ball's hit to first base, I don't know that the Yankees have a great answer. Like the best. Can I throw one out there?
Yes.
If he were healthy enough to do it, would you put LeMahieu on the roster and take Grisham off to just play defense?
Isn't Oswaldo giving you that right now?
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah. I would think about it.
I think like I go back to that double play that Oswaldo made. I know it was right at him, but like it was a liner. It was hit hard. And then he had to make a smart play of not chucking it to second base immediately as he touched first base, which was what Roki was hoping for with that base running. I know Birdie's looked a little shaky now in this series of first base after looking pretty good in the DS, but I know Grisham's not giving you anything, but I don't know if I want to see DJ out there either. I think Oswaldo's giving you the defense that DJ's giving you.
Cortez, if he's healthy, or you could pick Leiter or Stroman.
Oh, Leiter over Stroman. You saw it.
No. But in other words, like, you got to take one off for Cortez. Who are you taking off?
Stroman.
I think that's the right answer, Ryan. My only concern is if you go short in any game and you actually need, say, 4 innings of relief from somebody, Cortez can't give it to you. You know what I mean? Cortez is probably going to be a 30-pitch reliever who I would you know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
It is like I'd rather have and run the risk that I don't have long. But it is a risk against an offense as good as the Dodgers that you're playing, especially the brick 3 games in the middle where you have 3, 4, and 5 consecutively. Mm-hmm. You get a short start from Clark Schmidt in 3, or Hill, however he lines it up in 3. And you are messing yourself up for 4 and 5 because you simply do not have an easy way to get to 27 outs. Stroman at least gives you 75 pitches in the game. You can see, like, Kenny Rosenthal on the broadcast last night was admitting the Dodgers conceded 2 games. And what they did in 2 games was they pitched like Brent Honeywell a lot to protect guys. I don't think the Yankees, if you put Cortez on the roster, if you had a blowout, would have a protective pitcher. They'd have to use kind of meat. Ultimately, I think you'd rather have the meat, especially Cortez might give you some answers against Freeman and Ohtani that you need much more. It's instead of planning against the worst possible outcome. But if you have the worst possible outcome, you are going to really impact other games because you didn't have the the guy to the wolves pitcher to give you 75 pitches in the way Honeywell did a couple of times.
What about for Tim Mesa? Isn't that the role Nestor would take?
But would you rather have 3 lefties against this Dodger team?
Yeah, maybe.
Especially not knowing, like again, seeing how bullpens are used. By the way, Tommy, these are all the right questions. And I'm sure that the Yankees have probably even begun meetings. If not, they are now that they know it's the Dodgers. I'm sure they'll start meeting today. The one thing you know with Mesa is he could pitch in a lot of games in the series. Can Cortez pitch in a lot of games in the series? So, like, to me, Cortez is the once in each block guy. Like, he could pitch in 1 or 2. He can pitch someplace in 3, 4, 5, and he can pitch someplace in 6, 7. And by the way, maybe give you 100 total pitches over those 3 games that are more valuable than anything you would get from Tim Mesa and anything you would get from Stroman. But we shouldn't act like Mesa and Stroman don't have some value in that. Mesa could literally go in 7 times in this series if you needed it. And it might be like, hey, it's the 5th inning, and they've got both Freeman and Ohtani coming up.
Right.
Let's do Mesa right here a bunch of times in the series. And if there's a blowout one way or the other, especially if it's a Yankee lost blowout, and you don't have Stroman to eat the innings in a blowout, you'll have some regret. I think the Yankees would sit there and say, this is the moment we wish that baseball didn't tell us how many pitchers we can have, because clearly, since they're not using Grisham, they're not using Dominguez, you would just take Grisham off and go with 14 pitchers.
Yep.
Right? That
Right.
would be the easy way to go. But you got 13. You know who the 4 starters are. And again, the fact that we are talking about, think about the game that is played now, Ryan and Tommy, that you can have 13 pitchers, and you know you have 2 off days coming up in a 7-game period. So 7 games in 9 days at most. And your fear is you're going to run out of pitchers. It tells you everything about the game that is played today, and also the time of year that guys are just physically exhausted. I would put Cortez on for Stroman. That's what I would do. But I would listen to everyone in the room. And if we agreed, I would sweat out every game that I don't have a true guy who could give me 60, 70 pitches if everything goes wrong.
I would agree.
You think lighter? So do you think the next option would be lighter over Mesa?
I think that it would be probably it would be lighter over Mesa because Leiter has a pitch to get some lefties out also. But again, not an easy decision because I actually think Mesa has a little rubbery arm thing.
Yeah.
He might actually be able to give you 30 pitches if you needed it to kind of get through it. Like, you know, in the worst scenario, it's just a 30 from him and 30 from Cousins, and you're hoping there's 6 to 8 to 9 outs in there someplace, and you kind of.
Yep. Tim Hill too.
You know.
Tim Hill can give you a lot of pitches right now. I feel like too.
But the thing is, you just don't want to blow out the lefties because they're going to be so important in this series against Ohtani for sure and Freeman if he's up to it physically. And now this is a real advantage, right? Freeman didn't play last night, so that's Sunday night it's almost a full week that he's going to have off. Going into this because Saturday was an off day for them, so he's literally will play a week apart. So that's a lot of healing time for him. We've seen what guys will go out with. Obviously Rizzo's not at 100% between both his fingers and what they're not telling us about his back because it seems like he's having a lot of trouble bending down on some of these ground balls. To me, but guys lay it on the line. Can I throw in one last thing before we go here? Like we talk about lay it on the line stuff. Like Clay Holmes is going to be a free agent in 10 days. That guy pitched in every game, and I know it didn't work out at the end, but at some point, that guy, Tommy Kahnle's a free agent. Tim Hill's a free agent. A lot of these guys on the Dodgers are free agents. A lot of the guys on the Mets, like Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, who's starting to stretch the bullpen. Guys are laying it on the line. and it might not be great for their free agency if something went wrong, and they're still doing it. That the idea of winning that chip still has a lot to guys.
Yeah, it's going to be something. We'll see how it develops over this week and over the series. We'll talk about it. We'll preview that series later this week, Joel. We're looking forward to that discussion, but we thank you as always for joining us. And we're here, man. The Chase for 28 is officially on now. We got 7 games to see how the Yankees and Dodgers, best on best, how this plays out. A long history in this between these two. And I know you're going to be looking forward to it. And I know we're looking forward to seeing it as well, man.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to go call Bob Musial and see what he thinks about the series. Okay, Tommy.
Thanks, Joel.